what's up guys? Into the Burning Abyss here, back with another video. Now it's been a few weeks guys. I decided to basically, I had a few things going on. I had like a little surgery to go through, and then I basically had to rest for a couple days, and then got back to work and catching up. I had like 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks have been not rough. I mean, only the first few days was a little bit rough after the surgery, but after like the last week or so, it's been pretty good, getting a lot better. I was like, you know what, let's try to make some content again. I haven't really, I made a few changes to some of my decks here and there, so I thought I would showcase them again now that it's been some while since the new ban list came out. Like the format has kind of settled out, and we kind of know what the decks are, the top decks in the meta right now. So I've adjusted my decks a little bit according to certain decks and all that stuff. So I thought I would do for this video the Burning Abyss deck profile, updated for basically July. This is probably the build I'm gonna keep or hold on to until I order some other cards, which is a little bit, these other cards haven't come in yet, but this will be more, I guess a little more like Farfus build, taking more inspiration from there. The build that I have right now is more of a going second build, similar to the previous list I made, but I did make a few changes that I think will surprise some of y'all, or it might shock a little bit. And yeah, so, but once the new cards come in, the deck will be a little bit more oriented to going first, and will be a little bit similar to Farfus build, basically taking inspiration from that build. Like, I thought it was really cool that he profiled that deck, getting his, 14th place out of regionals with Burning Abyss, so that's pretty cool. Glad to see the deck can still, perform at a high level. So, yeah, I guess, I am gonna also make another video. It'll probably be a separate video because I feel like if I combine it with this one, it's going to be quite long. Another video basically talking about what I kind of want Konami to do in terms of if they ever plan on doing like Burning Abyss support, what I think would be good for the deck. I thought that'd be a cool little discussion to have, and maybe get you guys' input on what you guys think Konami should do to bring some BA support or something like that. But yeah guys, without further ado, let's just get right into the deck profile. Alright guys, let's get started. So for the main deck, of course, we got, the standard BA lineup. We're playing triple Graph, triple Seer, and triple Skarm for the 3 ofs. These are the, back to the classic days of Burning Abyss back in like 2014. These are the 3 ofs, the best Burning Abyss monsters in the deck. So you definitely want to maximize your chances of, seeing them or mailing them, so you really want to have 3 copies of each one. Sometimes only Seer's like the only one where I'm like, I don't really like opening him if I don't, but in this build, because we're playing, Pot of Desires, it's mandatory to play 3 of your best ones, just so you don't banish all of them off Desires. And also, you really need to see 2 names in this build, especially going second. Like, you need 2 Burning Abyss monsters, so that's why we've upped, same as the last list that I did, we've upped the count overall compared to previous lists from months ago. But yeah, those are the 3 ofs. Then we got the 2 ofs, 2 Farfa, 2 Libic, and 2 Alec. Farfa, of course, you're the most common or best interruption in terms of the Burning Abyss monsters. Being able to get rid of a body for the turn is pretty good. Sometimes maybe I would consider it, because we played Desires, maybe I would bump it up to 3. I know Farfa mentioned that in his build, maybe 3 would be better, but I mean, I do think I agree. It doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it kind of sucks. Libic 2, just because Libic is your main OTK enabler for turn 3 with Tour Guide. So you want to have a copy of it. So again, because we play Desires, I think having 2 is the better choice. And then 2 Alec, just because Alec does, in this format, with Kartek branded opening and the fusion monsters, Alec does come up more often, where you're able to activate something like branded opening or the branded fusion. You chain Beatrice once the spell card resolves, the monster summoned, they get their effect. It'll be chain link 1. Their monster chain link 2 Alec to negate it. So I think having 2, just again because of Desires, I think it's I wouldn't say it's mandatory, but it helps a little bit more. And lastly, just the two one-ofs, the one Barbar and the one Calcab. These are, I mean, they do have good utility. Calcab being able to bounce a card as a spell, set spell and trap, and then Barbar, of course, for the burn damage in time or to go for game. But they're not as useful as the other Burning Abyss monsters, and they're mostly just here for a different name. So that's it for the Burning Abyss monsters. I believe it's 17. You have 9 of the main ones, 6 of the 2-ofs, that's 15, yep, and 2 extra 1-ofs, 17. And then for the support cards, just 2 Tour Guide and 1 Rhino. Again, these cards, while they do synergize with the deck extremely well, both these cards have the same problem. If they get impermed or veilered, you literally can't play. So, and then of course, Tour Guide also falls to Ash. Which is, I mean, the Rhino. That's why the Rhino Warrior is a little bit better. But I think I'd rather just not even play 3 Rhinos because imperm and veiler are so prevalent as well right now that. While Rhino is a little bit better to be sitting on versus Tour Guide, because it will generate a little bit of, I guess, interruption or follow-up whenever it gets sent to the graveyard, it's still not good. Like, you really don't want to just be sitting on a Rhino or Tour Guide and can't do anything else. So I just think I'd rather open up just 2 Burning Abyss names. Even if one of them's not Graph or you don't have a way to get to Graph, I'd rather open up 2 BA names than open up Rhino with a random BA just because I don't want to risk that chance of getting imperm or veilered on the Rhino. And Tour Guide, even though she is worse than Rhino Warrior, she is better than Rhino Warrior for the follow-up, like turn 3. Normally your opponent will have used their interruptions when you went first, or for like turn 4, if you broke their board, and they don't have like a lot of follow-up left, then Tour Guide is perfect. Well, I guess that'd be turn 2. Like if you went second and you broke the board and you're able to generate some follow-up with Tour Guide for turn 4, and your opponent used their interruptions, so they lost their interruptions, then Tour Guide is just better after your opponent has, used all their interruptions. And I like to play 2 just, again, because of desires, so if you banish 1, it's like you still have another one for follow-up there. The Rhino is mostly just there to thin out the deck a little bit, or to like send something like Token Collector if you want to thin out your deck more. Like you can send Rhino off Beatrice, and then Rhino will also trigger to be able to send something like Token Collector or another BA. So it really helps with deck thinning, but I think just 1 is fine. Now that's it for those monsters. That's 20 monsters, like basically 20. It's basically 20 BA cards or ways to see 2 BAs, I guess. Then we got the going second cards. For the staple hand traps, we got 3 Ash, 3 Veiler, and 3 Imperm. So these are pretty common and standard going second cards. Ash is just hits. Not only does it hit rogue decks, but even the meta decks right now, like Branded Fusion and things like that. Ash is just amazing. Effect Veiler is... The only issue I have with Effect Veiler is that you can't use it on your turn. That's the only thing I don't like, because drawing it as a 6 card, I hate that. If it's in my opening hand, it's fine. But even having 2 in my opening hand, I don't care, because you can use it twice. That's the nice thing about Effect Veiler. You can use it more than once per turn. But I hate opening it or I hate drawing it as my 6 card when I'm going second. So, yeah, but it's still a very good card, of course. And then Imperm, same. Plays around talents, which I mean, not many people are using right now, but it's still good to just play around it. And this one can be used on your turn, so that's pretty nice. So I like it better than Effect Veiler. But you want, a good amount of negation or going, just standard hand traps. Now, that's not all. That's just the hand traps, but now the hard going second cards, we got 3 Forbidden Droplet. And this is where we get a little bit into some spice here and there. I am playing 2 Raigeki and 1 Dark Hole. Of course, Droplet, amazing. Like, it's probably the best, going second card in the whole deck. Might be in the whole game right now, honestly. especially with Burning Abyss, you can just discard your Burning Abyss cards and you get their effects too. So you're not even really negging if you discard like Graph or Seer or Skarmory, or even cards like Farfa and Alec are like double interruption. You'll get to negate one with Droplet, and then you can trigger on the new chain Farfa or Alec to either banish a card or negate another monster. So really good utility with the Burning Abyss cards. And of course, like, since your opponent can't respond to them if you, depending on what you send, just really good. And now these cards, like, honestly, these cards catch people off guard so much that it's always funny, and that's why I really like them too. And they're really good, honestly. There's been a lot of times where, like, if you by themselves, they're not that great a lot of the time, but paired with like Droplet, paired with like Imperm, they're amazing, because you can, like with Imperm, you can just Imperm their monster negate first and then just wipe their whole board. With Droplet, you can activate it. They try to negate, chain Droplet, send this card, and you can send another card if you want, if they have another negation from your hand. So, yeah, you get to wipe their whole board. So, alone, they're not the best card. Sometimes they are. Like, there's been a couple times when even just this card alone, like, if they don't set up an actual Omni negate, maybe they just set up monster negates, then these cards put in work. And yeah, they've won me a couple of games for sure. And people are always like, what the heck? Like, especially like game one, when they don't expect the game one. But yeah, I really like the way they worked. I don't have a third Raigeki, which is why I'm not playing the 3 of it. But actually, Dark Hole has actually saved me a few times. Like, there's been a few times where I've been nibbed, and you know, with the token, you can't summon your Burning Abyss monsters. But I just Dark Holed the whole field first to get rid of the token and my opponent's monsters, and then I was able to play. So Dark Hole can have its utilities as well. But yeah, that's it for the I guess going second cards. Now for the one-ofs and consistency cards. So we got 2 Pot of Desire. Again, really, honestly, I think in some ways I do like it better than Prosperity, because I was playing Prosperity before. But banishing, like, this deck, it's not that it's super, like, it's not like you can't banish anything in the deck. Well, like, if you banish anything from your extra deck, it'll stop functioning. You can definitely banish some cards, but it's really preferable not to. Because we're playing a lot more multiples in terms of the BA monsters, I think Desires fits very well into this deck. If you banish one Graph, you banish one Seer, like, you know, or one Skarm or a Farfa, it doesn't really matter. So, yeah, Desires works pretty well with the deck, and being able to have, like, the +2, like, I mean, I know it's a +1, but being able to draw 2 cards, it's just, the deck really needs the hand advantage to keep playing. So, I definitely think you need some kind of consistency card. And plus, Desires is a lot cheaper than Prosperity, so it is a budget option, but I do think that overall Desires just fits into this deck better than Prosperity. And then for the one-ofs, we got 1 Called By, 1 Harpies, and 1 Foolish. For this, obviously, it's just super good. Called By, like, stopped any hand trap, basically. Probably should be banned, but Harpy Toilet Duster, don't want to lose to back row decks or like Mystic Mine, so just put the 1. It does suck a little bit that Desires would, there's a potential like risk of you banishing enough Desires if you use it, but you don't always see Desires, and having the random Harpy sometimes it does come in clutch. And Foolish, just it's a good. I mean, this card is a starter. It's an eruption. Like, it's a good go. It's a good going first or second card. It lets you start your plays. If you maybe open up one name, Foolish is another name basically by sending Graph. Or if going second, it can serve as a way to bait a negate. Like, you could send Alec or Farfa to bait an opponent's interruption. So pretty good stuff. Yeah, that's it for the main. It's 40 cards. Yeah, that's all we play here. Now going into the extra deck, we got, of course, the Beatrice and the 2 Dante. Very standard. Beatrice, 1 of Dante. sometimes, I mean, I would wish I could play 3, honestly, but the extra deck space is really tight. And you don't really need the third one, doesn't come up that often. Going for the rest of the XYZs, I am playing the 1 Fortune Tune with the Downard and of course the 2 Zeus. So this is like the the Zeus package. I mean, of course, you could say Dante falls under there too, but Fortune Tune is a pretty good card. It can't be targeted. It can protect itself, so it's pretty easy to go into Zeus with Fortune Tune. Downard, of course, to stack on Dante or Fortune Tune and get a 4 material. Basically helps you get another material for Zeus. I want to play 2 of this card sometimes. I was playing 2 before, but now that I've added in a few extra cards, I had to cut some stuff. But I think 1 is fine, honestly. A lot of the times what I was doing before when I had 2 down and I was just banishing 1 off Prosperity. So now that we're not playing Prosperity, I think just 1 is definitely mandatory. 2, if you're more focused on XYZ, then I guess 2 would be better. But since we do have some Link monsters, I can't fit the second one. But 1 has worked out pretty well for me. I haven't really run into issues where I'm like, oh man, I really, really need the second one a lot of the time. Because we are playing now this package here, the DDD package. I think it's pretty good ones, like for this going second build, because if you can't run over something with Dante, or if you don't want to burn, like take so much damage out with the Fortune Tune, then you have a 3,000 attack monster you can go into with your Burning Abyss monsters. You use 2 BAs to go into Darius, and then stack the King Deus Machinax on top of the Darius, so you have a 3,000 attack beater, and then you can just go into Zeus with 4 materials. So again, pretty good. I think it's pretty good for this going second build. But when I switch over to the more going first / more related to Farfa's build that he used for the regional, I probably will cut these 2 just because going first, I don't really ever think you need to summon this guy, honestly. So yeah, for the going second build, I do think the DDD stuff is pretty good. Now for the links, I am playing the 1 Goddess, just because this deck needs a way to out like the Punisher card, the Psychic and Punisher. I think it is. That card's busted, and Borderland too. I mean, there's other ways to out it with, like, you can out those cards with like Zeus, but you have to like get through the interruptions first, and that's a little difficult in a deck like this. So the Goddess is like, if they're not expecting it, they can just catch people off guard, and it's an easy way to out the like the Psychic and Punisher and the Borderland. So, and because those decks are running prevalent in the format, I do think that it merits a spot in the extra deck. But once, like, if those decks ever fall out of the format, I would easily cut the Underworld Goddess. It's a nice, cool card, but you don't get to summon it too much. Access Code Talker, of course, pretty standard in my opinion for this build. Pretty easy to go into, and just helps with, like, not only is it a help with OTKs, but it can help for card removal. So pretty good stuff. And then the Nightmare and IP little package here. Of course, IP is part of your standard board if you end up going first for some reason. Because, I mean, I do have cards in the extra deck. Again, certain decks I would want to probably go first. And then, of course, Unicorn for the IP. Pretty standard for BA. And the last 2 cards, we got Cherubini and the Purple Dante. Cherubini, of course, helps with OTKs, and it's just a really good card in Burning Abyss. Of course, you can bring it back with Seer when it goes to graveyard, so it's pretty cool. And then Pilgrim. This card is debatably cuttable, but I really don't want to play the card. It's just so nice, and it's a cool card to play in the deck. When you get to summon it, it just feels so amazing. But yeah, that's it for the extra deck, guys. Now going into the side deck, I decided to actually profile what I'm using right now. I got 3 Droll, 2 DD Crow, and 1 Token Collector for the monsters. Of course, Droll hits a lot of decks like Drytron, Dragon Link. Even sometimes it can hit like the like the Allure version of the branded a little harder. So I think it's a pretty good card to hit a lot of decks. DD Crow, of course, also to hit decks like, I think it's actually pretty good against decks like, it can be used against Despia, like when they want to use their brand in red. And I actually put this card in, honestly, more people are playing more Drytron recently. And I think this card hitting like their ritual spell is just so good. And also just hitting, of course, like their Ben 10 or their names in their graveyard. But this could potentially be cuttable. I'm just kind of testing it out right now. And the one token collector, I think you just need one because you can send it off Beatrice. Like you don't really want to. I don't really feel like you want to draw like too many of these or ever see like multiple when you can just send it off Beatrice. Of course, it hits the adventure stuff, hits Sword Soul, so definitely want to respect all these decks. So I have a little bit of side for all of them. Then back row hate, you guys know that I main the Harpies, and then I do have 3 Twin Twister, so 4 cards for back row hate. Yeah, I just feel like Twin Twister works pretty well with the deck. Basically helps, you discard a BA, you get its effect, so it's not even that bad for card advantage. And then now the rest is the going first stuff. We got 3D Barrier and 3 Anti-Spell. I know Farfel was mainly the D barriers, but again, this is more of a going second list. So, and D barrier is not that great going second, honestly. So if you lose Dyro, it's kind of useless, honestly. And then again, Anti-Spell Fragrance is definitely more of a going first card, and I don't want the deck to be. The problem with the deck being too reliant on going first, that means if you go second, you're most likely gonna lose. So I think it's just better to have the deck be a little bit more flexible with going first and second. But like I did order the other card, the Super Ancient Organism card, and then the Apocrypha card. So I think those 2 cards are relatively good going first and second, even though they're trap cards. So I'm probably gonna put those 6 into the deck and replace them with I'll probably cut the Dark Hole and Raigekis and put those on the side for going second. And then I'll probably have to cut something else. I'll probably have to cut something else for the other 3 as well. Not sure what yet though. And I'm gonna keep I'm not gonna main the barriers, honestly. I just feel like they're too reliant on going first. But yeah, guys, that's basically it for the Burning Abyss deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely probably my favorite deck to play right now. Even I know it's not a tier 1 deck or anything, or even tier 2 deck, but it's a lot of fun to play this deck, and it can get some wins here and there against the meta decks. And I know I have already shown you guys my little test hand tutorial, and there are already a lot of combo videos out there, and I've done a few combo videos of the standard combos you can do with the deck, so go free to check those out. And I hope you guys like this list. I think it's really nice. I've been enjoying it a lot, and I will see you guys in the next video.